Hello guys, how are you? Hey Janaf, how are you? What do we have before we start? Hey Terry, welcome. How are you? Okay, let's get to it. Okay, there you go. Okay, so we're going to stick with the same person we've been using for all the improvement sessions. And just sorting out some stuff. Hey Yubo, welcome. Thank you. It's much more brighter. Yeah. Okay, good. So we're going to continue with our guy, and the game starts with d4, d5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop f4. And the cool thing about looking at these games is that we are already out of theory at this point. We clear of the main lines. And each player at this point is already on his own. So our hero is playing white in this particular position. And after bishop f4, his opponent plays knight f6. He goes h3, knight e4, and white goes knight bd2, e6, e3. So we could say at this point it's quite clear that all of them are trying to get their pieces out, and no one is, except black, moving the same piece twice. Nothing major has been done, like it will be a mistake to say, okay, good, he deserves to lose. But already, after bishop d6, we have a critical scenario where white needs to decide, so how does he proceed? Okay, so At this point, we start with the challenges. So what do you do here? If you're white, how do you, what's your next move? At this point, just put 1 in the chart, and we get to see what would be your move, because this is really the challenge, right? After bishop d6, even those that on Facebook, you're welcome to contribute. After bishop d6, it's white's turn, and these small decisions are really what bothers the improving player, right? So it's not a life-changing decision, but it's a critical decision nonetheless, and mistakes get made a lot at this point. So what do you do here? Okay, well done. Bishop takes d6. Makes a lot of sense. So in a position like this, to play something like bishop h2 or bishop, or leave the bishop here, will just damage the structure. So you want to keep it moving forward. So bishop takes d6. Makes a lot of sense. And black goes queen takes d6. Now the approach that we use is that from the moment we ask you a question like, okay, so what do you do here? We want to move with it, because the problem with chess is that it's not like a puzzle where we only wait for the fancy moment to ask you, what do you do? Here, let's move together and see, okay, good. So he's played queen d6. So there must be a plan by white on how does he proceed with this position. Where does he go? What does he do? So here, again, what do you do? How do you move forward with this position? And the reason why we do it with each move is, in a game, there's no special moment where you are expected to make a move. You have to make a move on each turn. So just like in this position, make a move now. How do you proceed here? Don't this. Hey, Katika, welcome. Katika on Facebook. It looks simple, but at this point, you still need to make a decision. So in this position, c3 was played. On knight takes e4 would be a mistake. This is a typical mistake. Takes e4. The problem with this move is it forces white to move backwards, and that's what you are trying to avoid in chess. Chess is it literally resembles life. You need to be making progress at each turn. So after queen takes d6, c3 makes a lot of sense. Denies the pieces to come into your territory. At the same time, you're holding your own space. And here, after c3, black goes h6. Again, before you know it, it's back in your court. What do you do? How do you proceed here? The guiding principles that you need to keep in mind, especially early on in the opening like this, is you need to develop your minor pieces, castle, and connect your rooks. Those are the three main tasks you need to be completing. Before you complete those, you must avoid jumping into the habit of attacking. Thank you, Hobek. Welcome. If you are on Facebook, feel free to contribute to the moves you need to be completing. Before you complete those, you must avoid jumping into the habit of attacking. Thank you, Hobek. Welcome. If you are on Facebook, feel free to contribute to the moves. We are watching both chat lines, so you can contribute there too. So h6 is played. How do you proceed if you're white? It's not complicated. Just apply opening principles and you should be able to find the answer. Welcome, Joshua Odana. How do you proceed here? My Twitch crew should be able to find this. I've got some really capable guys. This is not a difficult position. But it's the easier ones, right? That people make mistake the most in. So here, how does white proceed? h6. It's not complicated, guys. Go for it. h6. So white needs to find a move which fulfills two important principles, or three important principles. Develop your minor pieces, castle, connect your rooks. What's the optimum move in this position? If you keep these three guiding principles, you won't make mistakes in the opening. Bishop e2 is Hobek's suggestion. It's very passive. Bishop b5 in this particular position lacks purpose, and b5. You need another, not so passive position where you can put your bishop. That would be the tip I would give you. But nice try by Hobek. Just bishop e2 is very passive. Chess is a war game. You're not trying to make a move which is nice. You're trying to make aggressive moves so that you can beat your opponent. This is not the hard part, guys. What do you do here? Bishop b5. It's one of those moves which looks nice, but it's not really accurate because it just goes bishop d7. And your whole trip to b5 is kind of wasted. So there's an optimum move in this position for the bishop at least. And it's not b5. What do you do here? True. When you're playing like that, it's a next level complexity, let's put it like that. But at this point, we're looking at a position where you're a person trying to get to 1800, let's say. Most of the guys who are here are trying to cross that barrier. And let's have a purposeful move which aims to develop optimally. Very good, Terry. Bishop d3. It's got a very direct idea of taking and winning a pawn. And if you start playing with that purpose, you'll be surprised how most of your games don't require the level of complexity that sometimes we apply into our games. Because we study very complex books and ideas and watch very advanced videos that we forget to implement the basic stuff. So after bishop d3, after bishop d3, f5 gets played. Now, this looks like a very good move from Black's perspective, but the problem with this move is Black is making too many pawn moves, and these pawn moves create a lot of weaknesses. Well done, Hobeg. And these weaknesses can be exploited. So here, White, noticing that his path for this bishop has been blocked by these pawns and a weakness has been made on the king side, he proceeds to try now go and improve the minor piece. Yeah, c4 would be a bit too loose, because what's happening when you play c4 is you're starting to attack, but you haven't completed development. Hey, Jody, welcome. Jody Romanov. That's what. So c4, you're starting to attack, but you haven't completed development. Bishop b5 makes a lot of sense because now the bishop doesn't have any future in the center. It would be wise to exchange it for this knight and take this square, which is now permanently weak, which was Yubo's idea on the previous move. Okay, so after bishop b5, Black goes bishop d7. Now what do you do? Risky Zubair, thank you for liking the stream. Now bishop d7 is played. Okay, your opponent is working with you. You've played bishop b5, you're threatening to pin this knight and maybe put pressure with knight e5. He goes bishop d7, unpins it. And now it's your turn again. Okay, like I will repeat, I keep on doing it this way because in a game, no one comes and says, oh, now there's a tactic, or now this is the moment you need to focus. It's move after move after move after move. And the reason why we look at these case studies, the reason why we're not looking at Grandmaster games and we're looking at people between the range of 1200 to 2000 is because that's where most mistakes are made. And most of these mistakes are not complex mistakes. They are very simple mistakes. They are your kind of touch mistakes. So if you really want to improve, this is the area you need to really put attention on and see where your fellow players are making mistakes in and see how you can improve. So here, it's your turn. Black is not playing optimal moves, but you still need to exploit these kind of mistakes. So what do you do here? How do you exploit this bishop d7 move? Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Try. If it is, you learn from it. We will laugh, but then we'll show the move. This kind of decision is not one which takes a long time. It's a one which just takes an understanding of like, oh, okay, so this is what's important in this position and this is what I need to do. So it's not like you're calculating. You're not calculating. You're just observing. What do you do in this position? Very good. Exchange on c6. Bishop takes c6. Bishop takes c6. And you castle. Very good, Yubo. And now he castles long. Now it's back at you. Well done, Yubo. That was a nice, completely perfect idea. Very good, Terry. Okay, so he's castled long. It's your turn. What do you do? Again, in this position, the next move, it's not a calculating move. It's just like, okay, an understanding position. And the thing you realize as we analyze this game is that most of the time, the critical moments are probably 2 or 3 times. The rest of the time, you're just making routine understanding moves based on positional concepts. If you are not sure yet, like now we are in the middle game. Now you're exploiting weaknesses. Remember, our objective in the middle game is to attack weaknesses. So that, like to attack. We want to attack our opponent. That's what we're doing in the middle game. We're not there to just sit and wait for them to make a mistake. We need to attack them. And the way we attack them is we attack their weaknesses. And if you're not sure, a weakness is a square on the 5th or 6th rank, not protected by a pawn. And these are the squares we are looking at somehow exploiting. If there's a way we can exploit these squares, we need to do that. The rest will take care of itself. So here, what do you do? White clearly has a better position based on the fact that this bishop is dead. His knights are much better. Black does have this one knight on e4, but it's not really doing much. So how do you exploit this? Remember, White is not a grandmaster. He's an average player, just like you. He's probably about 1400 or so. But he plays this game very well. How do you exploit this? What does White do? What does White do here? Knight e5, very good. So White just simply exploits what's in the position. This move comes with a threat of knight f7, very good. And the queen is kind of bound to this bishop to protect it. Otherwise the structure gets damaged. It's very simple chess. And now he goes bishop e8. In a game of chess, this is what you're hoping for. If you can get your opponent to do this, you're doing something right. You're getting or forcing them to move backwards, and this is what you're hoping you can do. If you get this done, it becomes easy. So what's next? What do you do? He goes bishop e8, and it's your turn. What do you do here? Okay. Okay, good. So you've got an idea, but so the difference is that you can't start with exchanging because then you don't know where the bishop is going to go. It could become very active. But knight e5 first and then followed by knight takes e4 makes a lot of sense. And now he goes d takes e4, which is weird actually because he's really hoping to attack on the king side. Maybe fe4 made more sense, but in the game he played d takes e4 and White has got one task. Now remember, I told you that in the opening you want to develop your minor pieces, number one. Number two, you want to castle, and number three, you want to connect your rooks. So how does White finish the last step of the opening principles here? How does he finish the last step of this of these opening principles? How does he proceed? How does knight e5? Very good. So you got it. Grey row done. So in this position, how does he connect the rooks? Where does he put his queen in order to exploit the rook? Where do you put your queen? Your queen is the last piece of the puzzle. What do you do with that queen? DE4. What does white do here? C4. No. Remember, before you attack, make sure that your rooks are connected. This is a common mistake that people make. They just attack, but without connecting the rooks. What happens is that your position doesn't have full power when you're doing that. So you need your rooks to be connected before you just start on your attack. How do you accomplish that? Queen c2, Queen e2 is the correct move. Queen e2, your rooks are connected, your queen can go to the queen side. The problem with your queen on c2 is that it really cannot go to the queen side that freely. So on e2, it's got a chance of jumping to the king side. And now, after g5, f3 by white. Load shedding. Let's finish the game before everyone goes into load shedding. Fe4, g5. Take. So now queen takes g4. Queen to b6. Rook b2. Just simply defending b2. And after h4, queen g8. So he's attacking the rook on h7. at the same time putting pressure on the bishop. So black goes rook to h6, and now white